This is the You, Me, and BTC podcast.
Cryptocurrency decrypted.
Welcome to episode 75. First up this week, we're chatting about Wikileaks' new Bitcoin bounty program. The organization is currently offering $100,000 in Bitcoin to anyone who releases missing chapters from the Trans-Pacific Partnership Treaty. We'll discuss the treaty itself, its possible effects, Wikileaks' motives, and much more. Then later in the show, we'll spend some time reflecting on Ross Ulbricht. Last week, he was sentenced to life in prison for running the Silk Road. We'll chat about how the trial went and what might be next for Ulbricht. Your hosts are Tim Baker, John Stuart, and myself, Daniel Brown. Here we go. Alright, hey everybody, welcome back. This is the You, Me, and BTC podcast, episode 75. Thanks for being here on another Thursday. I am Daniel Brown, and I'm here with
Tim Baker
and John Stewart.
So, there's a really big story this weekend. Some people would call it crazy stuff. I think Tim would say he kind of expected this all along. But Ross Ulbricht, life in prison with no chance of parole. That's the official sentencing. It was worse than the prosecution even asked for, and holy crap. We're going to get to that a little bit later in the show because we talk about Ross all the time, and we don't need to harp on this too much more, but we do want to bring it up just because it's a pretty big deal, and it might be the last time that much happens in that space. So we'll get to that in a little bit, but first, a quick thing, and then another topic that we'll hit for the first half of the show. The quick thing is our live show. I want to thank everybody that took part in that last week. It was a ton of fun. It's been a while since we had the chance to do the live show, but we did it again. We were a little rusty, but we made it work, and we had a lot of fun on Twitter, several conversations going. We had a poll going. It was awesome. Did you have a good time, Tim? It was me and Tim. John couldn't make the first one.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun.
So what I want to tell you guys is to check it out. Now, it's every Wednesday, and we just moved the time. It's going to be 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock Eastern p.m. in the afternoon, not in the middle of the night. But if you're around, now I know this will come out on a Thursday, so it won't be for almost a week that the live show will be coming around. So I hope you remember. We'll be reminding people on Twitter and stuff, obviously, at YMB and BTC. And definitely next Wednesday, get there, YMBandBTC.com/live. Send us tweets, and we'll read them on the air. We can have a conversation. You can tell us your thoughts. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So, I mean, today's Tuesday that we're recording, so we're going to have a show tomorrow. But for you guys, it'll be almost a week. And we hope to see you there. So here it goes. We're going to start with Wikileaks accepting Bitcoin for leaks, I guess. What's going on, Tim?
Well, WikiLeaks right now is looking for donations to put out a bounty on what you said, a leak of the last chapters that haven't been put out yet of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. That partnership, which hasn't happened yet, it's a trade agreement that's supposed to... It seems very confusing as to what exactly is going on with it, because they're kind of keeping it in secret, which is why WikiLeaks is getting involved.
Yeah.
Has gotten involved, and over the years they've leaked several parts of it. It seems like, this thing has been in motion for a few years, but the potential members of this, just to start it out, are Brunei, and I guess these are the original signatories, and that's back in June 2005, were Brunei, Chile, New Zealand, Singapore. Those are the original. The ones negotiating now are the United States, Australia, Peru, Vietnam, Malaysia, Mexico, Canada, Japan, and then there's a few that have interest in it in the Philippines, Taiwan, and South Korea. but like people are concerned because of certain things that have been let out. One of the bigger things has been the effect that it could have on intellectual property laws and copyright stuff like that in general. Because when they get involved in according to Wikipedia, it's called a proposed regional regulatory and investment treaty. So it's not just a trade, but the point of it is their goal is to help make trade easier, help make it quicker, because then everyone will be following the same restrictions and the same, like everything with that. But then at the same time, that means that everyone has to, or that all the agreeing members have to submit to the same rules. So the places that don't have the same kind of, like, certain places will have less restriction on business, and they might have to clamp down on that more. One of the main concerns for that is that intellectual property stuff.
Yeah. Does it say anything about what's going on with intellectual property, or is that just speculation? Or, I mean, obviously the deal is not even released yet. That's the whole reason we're talking about this. But what do they have any expectations for why intellectual property is involved in this?
I could take a guess, just based on the fact that, as it is, intellectual property is really hazy when it comes to international stuff. So,
okay.
like in America, I think that you could basically steal, like you could find some dude's book from China that was like copyrighted or whatever, however their laws work in China, and write the exact same book and release it in America, and you can't really be attacked for that.
Okay.
And I don't know, it's just really weird because every country has different laws about intellectual property, and this is like where the absurdity of countries comes in, because it's like we think of things as like absolute, like you can't copy somebody, but then if they're like across the border, it doesn't matter anymore.
Well, actually,
I don't know. Intellectual property is just because there's not an international law for it, and every country's laws about it are different. It's kind of weird.
That actually fits in pretty well with the comment I was going to make. I'm reading here, this is just a real quick news piece from Politico.com by Nick Gass, and one of the things he brings up is just that critics of the agreement say it's going to hurt American workers and the economy, and supporters of the agreement say it's going to give us a good foothold and stuff. And I'm like, this is something I've thought about for a long time. Everybody's like, oh, we want to keep jobs in America. We want to help America. Well, it's like, or like, no, the bigger thing is they complain about sending jobs overseas. And I'm like, well, what? Isn't that a good thing? Don't we want them to have jobs? I think I've said those exact words on the show before. Like, isn't it a good thing to have jobs over there just as good as it is to have them here? And yeah, that's something I wanted to bring up. And I think
because
Daniel.
people who aren't from your country don't count.
Yeah.
They're not
Unions,
human.
Daniel. Unions.
They're not
Xenophobia.
human, Daniel.
Exactly. But I just thought that fit in with your point. Like, this is where the absurdity of nations comes in. Like, what difference does it make where you are? If it's a job, it's a job, and it's helpful to someone. And
Yeah.
if it's a work of art, then
I think part of that's people being concerned about, like with the jobs, it's because like people think of it affecting the GDP, I think. I don't know about as much with the other stuff.
I guess with the intellectual property thing, it's not just a thing of like considering their art inferior. I mean, it more has to do, because it's a legal thing, it more has to do with just jurisdiction. Like, America can't police people's speeding tickets in China either. So like they can't police their intellectual property laws.
I'm sure we could if we wanted to.
Well,
I
yeah,
don't know. China might be our biggest competitor, but in any other nation we could.
I say couldn't loosely, I guess. I just mean they don't do that, and generally it's
definitely
considered something that they're not supposed to be able to do. And yeah, I think that's the intellectual property thing has more to do with that than not caring about stuff from other countries.
About the intellectual property, what people are saying, and the Electronic Frontier Foundation has brought up a lot about it, is because it, like John's saying, how hazy it is from one country to the next, that kind of helps especially if you're moving information from one country to the other, and also if you're in a country that's more free as far as copyright stuff. Like not everywhere has the same kind of copyright infringement laws and protection for them as the U.S. does, and they won't go after you as much, but if you sign this treaty, you kind of have to. They make a mention in here, one of, specifically in Japan, it's had a lot of trouble because of the copyright, because a lot of, artists, activists, academics, they got together and were trying to get it stopped, and they have a quote from Ken Akamatsu, I'm sorry for messing up your name, sir, creator of Japanese manga series Love Hina and Mahou Sensei Njima, expressed concern the agreement would decimate the derivative Dishoni, or self-published works prevalent in Japan. Akamatsu argues that the TPP would destroy derivative Doshini, and as a result, the power of the entire manga industry would also diminish. So there's that, and they also make the point of journalists and whistleblowers, because there's a vague trade secret and laws with that are kind of loosely defined, they could very easily get in trouble if a whistleblower is, say they're in another country and they're, let's say if they're in Mexico and they're trying to report back to Australia a human rights violation or a human rights or an animal rights or something like that violation in a cow farm or something. I don't know if they even have those down in Mexico, but
I'm sure they do.
Yeah, remember, what are they called? Gauchos?
Gaucho. Oh, yeah. But, yeah, they could get in trouble just for sending that information because you could argue, the company could argue and could try to get them locked up, and then that would then also be easier for, if the agreement goes through, Mexico could put pressure on Australia or wherever the journalist was from to then bring them back because they are all part of. You do this kind of thing and you make every single person have the same laws, so then that makes it even easier. Everything about making laws and regulations easier to comply with then just makes it easier for them to enforce too. So that's not normally a good thing for people who the government isn't really happy with.
I'm not sure quite how much I'm following, but I'm just going to pick one question and maybe this will clarify things. Are you saying that this would prevent, you brought up human rights violations, are you saying that the agreement would make it harder to disclose that because journalism is considered intellectual property?
No, it's because of the trade secrets, trade agreements, stuff like that.
Okay.
It's because a journalist and a whistleblower, they can say that they were it's a trade agreement or it's a trade secret that they were revealing, even if the person's goal is to reveal some kind of an abuse or something like that, they can get them and get that happens sometimes even in the U.S. where someone who will they'll videotape inside of a slaughterhouse, and those companies, they can go after that person and they can try to get them locked up for that.
Well, again, we don't even have the agreement, and we're just going off of other people's words.
No, the intellectual property ones have been let out.
Okay.
Yeah, and trade secrets fall under intellectual property.
Yeah, it's intellectual property covering copyright, trademarks, and patents.
Okay, but one more thing. Are you, or not you, but the people you're talking about are saying that the agreement would hurt the release of trade secrets?
Yes, it would.
Okay.
It would possibly. It makes it more threatening to journalists and whistleblowers.
Okay.
Because
I get that. I think I get that because now...
And he's not saying actual trade secrets. I think he's saying things that people are trying to expose.
Like whistleblowing. Yeah.
But they use intellectual property laws as a get out of jail free card.
Yeah,
basically.
because I think it's the same as with the movie stuff or whatever we were talking about. Or no, you said, John, if somebody writes a book, you could copy it in the U.S. And that's true. Just like with the trade secret, if it's a trade secret in China, but if it's something that needs to be told, somebody could expose it in the U.S. legally, sort of, just like they could rewrite that book in the U.S. legally. But with the agreement, that wouldn't be possible, right? And is that
it's not that it wouldn't be possible. It's just it makes it easier. because everyone agrees to
Wait. The agreement makes it easier for them to whistleblow?
No,
is that what you're saying now?
It makes it easier for them to
be
stop
prosecuted.
them.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's
Okay.
not trade secrets as in like they're keeping. I'm talking like trade secret laws or stuff like, well, we do it this way. But
stuff that needs to be exposed. I get that.
No. A trade secret is how you do things, like how much you like how Burger King prepares a certain thing. That's a trade secret. That's those laws. I mean, those are still those are just as bad as regular intellectual property laws, where
they can actually be worse. Well, I don't know about worse.
I can see the use for them. Like
the classic example is the Coca-Cola recipe.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
And the reason people use trade secrets instead of patents or something like that is that if you keep it as a trade secret, patents have to be public and trade secrets don't.
Okay.
So if Coca-Cola wanted to patent their recipe, they would have to make it public. And while no one could copy it exactly, they could get a lot closer, and it would be no work because the patent is public.
Right. I get that.
So trade secrets are beneficial if you think that you can actually keep it secret.
Now, I think we have to sort of bring this back to our own opinions, not just so much what everybody's saying. And this was, I guess the first place we saw this was on Reddit, and the headline on Reddit was, should WikiLeaks do this? Should they offer this bounty? And I'll just read the last sentence in this Politico article. The $100,000 reward marks the beginning of a new program for the organization in which users can pledge funding to get the chapters that they want the most. Now, does WikiLeaks have those and they just haven't released them?
I think I know where you're going with this.
Well, at the moment, I'm not going anywhere because I just realized that I don't know if WikiLeaks has them and they're getting the money, or if they're offering the money to somebody else who could get them.
No, they're offering it to whoever gets them those chapters.
Okay, so I don't know. I guess
that's how I understood it.
I guess same question: should they do this? Is this a good thing? And even better, apply it to the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Is this something that people need to know about? Is this something that you would pay for? I don't know.
I definitely think people should know about it. And
I think I agree, but actually the first thing I think is, who's going to care? The average Joe isn't going to care. If they're going to get to $100,000, it's going to have to be people that own businesses that will be affected, and they're going to have to put up a couple $1,000s. Like, as far as I know, this is not going to really apply to me at all, and it doesn't matter to me directly. I'm sure there's a million ways that it could easily affect me down the road, but
yeah, I wouldn't say it won't affect you. I was thinking about this earlier, and this is kind of bad because I don't remember my own thing. It was one of the earlier Bitcoin in the Arts I did that was about the taxes on like digital media in Europe, and how well, there's a big deal where people thought that Bandcamp was going to start taxing people and stuff, and it was just like, because of the way that Europe's laws were with this kind of stuff, it was affecting everybody else. And that's like on such a small thing like downloading music or something like that.
Right.
So you might think it won't affect you, but it probably will.
Yeah, I think I see that. And real quick, might as well plug that John will have another Bitcoin in the Arts in, 2 days from the Thursday that you'll listen to this. It'll be June 4th, if anybody wants to check it out. That's the first Saturday of every month.
And you can go back and listen to the other one and remind me what I said, because I don't really remember.
It was titled something like value-added tax or VAT for digital services or something. So any idea what you're going to hit on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, unless anything comes up, I'm probably going to talk about crowdfunding, because I've had that one in the back of my mind for a while now, and just other things have kept coming up that distracted me from it.
Sweet. All right, well, I want to hear from you, Tim. What are your thoughts on WikiLeaks? Is this a good decision on their part? And for the average Joe, would it be a good decision for him to support this and give money or something?
Is it a good idea for WikiLeaks to offer the reward, or is it a good idea for them to accept Bitcoin? both.
Sure,
The answers to both
everything.
are yes, but
yeah.
okay. I think Bitcoin's good for them to accept for it because I thought they already did anyway. But
No, well, yeah, I guess it's WikiLeaks. I'm sure they must have. But I do remember that we covered Wikipedia accepting Bitcoin a while ago.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I don't see any reason why they shouldn't. And then if they should offer the bounty, again, I don't see any reason why they shouldn't. Especially something like this. I don't understand the argument or why people accept that stuff like this is hidden from them. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not that any of these countries are direct democracies. It's just that most of them people like to think of being completely I mean, somehow we get into our heads that we still have something to say in how things are done, even though we all know that it's just it's representatives who vote on stuff.
right.
But
I
you
actually
should know.
I really do like. That's a good point. Just why are you accepting this? Why are you accepting that they keep secrets from you? And
I don't
yeah,
think
I think
most
that's a
people
good
even
point.
really think about. Like, I didn't hear about this. I'm not going to try to act like, oh, I've been following this since 2005.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is, like, you guys remember when we talked about that secret Bitcoin meeting
Oh,
on
Yeah,
the
I was thinking
island or
about
whatever?
that too.
Oh, that's not what I thought you
No,
were going to
that's
say.
not what I was thinking of either. I was thinking of what was it called?
Yeah, it's slur.
Slur?
Yeah.
No. I was talking about when we covered that all those big people from, I don't know, were they from Bitcoin Core?
Oh, they were from everywhere.
Yeah, it wasn't one particular thing.
Okay.
all the
yeah.
developers and stuff.
And like we talked
Well,
about how
real quick, just because I don't know if we said this specifically, what it is yet. They invited a lot of Bitcoin elites to an island for a secret meeting, and
yeah. And so we talked about how like there's not like anything they could do. Like they couldn't go there and like hijack Bitcoin or something like that. It was
Right.
more just the idea of them doing this stuff in secret. And I think with the TPP thing, like I imagine that probably like if it gets passed, they would probably make it public information.
right.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I think you'd have to. It'd be like you'd be able to find it at like a library or something.
Yeah,
or,
well,
like,
especially
online.
because
'Cause
you'd have to
people
be
have to
following
follow
these
it.
laws.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't put it past them to make laws secret because,
No.
but let's
We're just
not,
like, yeah,
let's
we
not,
don't know.
let's not go there right now. Anyways, what I was saying is like, how you guys were saying, well, why would anybody accept that it's secret? I think a lot of people are like, well, they'll pass it and then we'll get to look at it.
Right.
And it's the same thing with that Bitcoin meeting. It's more just like the idea of them doing this secret. Like, I want to know the decision process. I don't want you to just come back and tell me what you all decided. Like, I want to know everything
Why?
that you were talking about beforehand, before you decided, like what stages it went through and things like that. And yeah, like you were saying, we get this idea that we have some kind of say, and we really don't. I don't know, just the idea of people making decisions for you and not even letting you in on it
right.
is so messed up. Like,
yeah.
it's one thing I could understand how people would like be okay with someone making decisions for them, but when they are making decisions for you and they keep it a secret, that is just
Right.
disturbing.
Right. I do want to make an important distinction, though. When it comes to the government, sure, absolutely, show us everything because you threaten me every day. With the Bitcoin thing, I agree that it's a little weird and it's not quite what I would desire, but also they have a lot less power in terms of Bitcoin.
Yeah,
They have a lot less.
I wasn't trying to make a one-to-one comparison. I was more just saying that
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it.
it kind of bothered us a little bit, and this is like that, but
Right.
but like the full version. This is like
right.
version 2.0 of that or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's because they have more power, and it's also because they try to tell us. I mean, they're the ones who tell everybody, "Oh, it's your choice," and I mean, you are like part of it. Like the Bitcoin, you don't have to be, but this one isn't going to be like if something gets passed and you go against it, they're still going to arrest you. They're not going to be like, "Well, we'll
He
explain
opted
it to you
out."
first, and then you get a second try after that." It's because they'll tell you that, and they'll tell you like, well, this is great, and you should join the military and defend this trade agreement and do all this, and then you should get, So that's exactly what you're talking about, where, I mean, even like a parent knows to like explain stuff to the child, because if you just tell a child to do something, it's I mean, not that I know with raising children, but in general, like,
Please don't, Tim. Please don't.
I'm thinking, have you listened to I'm thinking of like the Free Talk Live stuff that I've heard and other like things I've heard where people talking about parents.
Right, yeah,
or just
no,
like
they do a
dealing with
lot.
things, and even the littlest kids, it's better to tell them why.
Oh,
and
yeah.
if you're not telling them why, it's probably because it's not something good for them.
Oh, yeah. I like that, yeah.
Or you don't have a reason.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
or it's just a selfish reason.
Join the club, join the club, join the Bitcoin Talk Club.
A new forum sensation is coming to a computer near you. A site that adapts to its users and tailors to altcoins. Are you a coin developer looking for a home? Look no further than the club. Have your own section and moderate it yourself. They're looking for members to help build the club into a one-stop resource for everyone's needs. They're looking for you at bitcointalk.club.
Join the club, join the club, join the Bitcoin Talk Club.
Yeah, I guess we'll just jump into Ross Ulbricht then. There's not really much to say. Well, there are a lot of details about the trial that might be worth talking about, but in terms of the news, life in prison, no parole. I'm not going to lie. I know we must have talked about this when we covered this before, so I'm sure that I knew life in prison was a possibility because he got the kingpin charge. That was the whole point of them trying to avoid the kingpin charge, was so that he wouldn't get life in prison. But he did get the kingpin charge, so I should have known that life was a possibility. But when I first read that, I didn't really think that. And I'm like, are you serious? How did this happen? I was completely baffled, and I was probably half asleep anyway. I think I read it when I first woke up. I don't know. Anyway, it sucks. I mean, just last week, what were we talking about? And we had to clarify that Ross is not perfect. Oh, it was one of his moderators for the Silk Road. And apparently Ross, or maybe it was a different DPR, but apparently he collected an ID. Now, I won't get into all that again because we just talked about it, but it's true. Ross and DPR, whoever, they're not perfect. But no matter what, this still sucks, and we still hate this. And I don't know. Any thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I mean, maybe as the most critical of the three of us about anything that's going on with it, I still think it's ridiculous.
Right. There was actually, just last night, I wasn't in the live event, but I was, in the background running the live event with Lynn Ulbricht, Ross's mother. And I don't want to hit every detail. You can check out the video if you want. It's on liberty.me. But there's so many things about this trial that were, maybe they weren't decisive things that would prove Ross's innocence or good intentions or whatever, but just so many like shaky things.
Well, they had a DEA agent go rogue during the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And they take all that you can't. I don't think you can use that. I don't know if you can even use that evidence.
They wouldn't let them bring all kinds of stuff up in trial. Like Ross couldn't mention his political beliefs, but it was okay for the judge to say that you're harming America.
Yeah, the judge in the sentence fucking said that there must be no doubt that you cannot run a massive criminal enterprise and because it occurred over the internet, minimize the crime committed on that basis. So they're trying to say that I think they're trying to act like he sold every single one of these drugs or something.
Well, I mean, that's a whole different issue because you're right, he didn't, but he was still charged with it because he ran the website. But I want to stick with this idea of them. Basically, they just, because of his political beliefs, because he's liberty-oriented and stuff, they're like, oh, you don't like America, you don't like the government, you don't respect us, and therefore we're going to make an example of you. And the tough thing is that's that kind of content, just libertarian ideas, that's out there frickin' everywhere. You know, that's why America was created. I mean, not the one reason, but a huge part of it was free speech. Isn't that the First Amendment or Second Amendment?
No, Second Amendment is that I get to go boom, boom. The first one, I think, is...
Yeah, I think it is
speech,
free speech. So, but theoretically is supposed to defend, but no, as soon as Ross says, well, fine, we'll lock you up for the rest of your life.
I think it was the drug thing, because back when the Silk Road was really coming out before he got caught, a lot of people were commenting on how it was just, this is the most brazen attempt, because they'd always had stuff before where, like, people would, people sell drugs all the time on Instagram, but it's not, like, a centralized thing, where then the Silk Road was like I think they took that, like, that more so than the libertarian part.
Well, yeah,
They took the fact that you were doing this out in the open, and that as far as, well, you did this crime and you made us look really stupid because we could go on there and we could buy stuff, but we couldn't, like, we could look at everything, we just couldn't take it.
Yeah,
and
it's...
I don't know. I also heard some, very secondhand, but some tweets about how they thought that some of the defense's strategies led to a harsher sentencing.
Well, yeah, and we covered that a little bit, the fact that they just admitted that Ross ran it in the hopes that they could also convince the judge that he was not the original DPR. And you're right, a lot of people faulted the defense for that, and maybe that is what hurt them, because they did admit a whole lot as they went through that. At the same time, they're doing the best they can. What other choice did they have? Try and hide it? And I don't know. Yeah, especially if they caught him while he was on the Silk Road. So if they tried to deny that he even ran the Silk Road, even as like the fifth DPR, you could see that hurting them pretty bad. So they're just weighing their options and tried to do the best. And maybe in the end it did hurt them, but I'm sure that obviously that's not what they were going for. And
yeah.
I don't think they were doing anything less than their best.
Well, it's always easy to criticize decisions that led to a certain outcome afterwards, but you don't know that beforehand.
Hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah.
I do want to say, we were talking about absurdity at the beginning of the episode, I guess we were saying the absurdity of nations or whatever, but this one really struck me. And also, just a few weeks ago, I started watching some, even just like traffic court trials from Keene, New Hampshire, the Free State, and Ian Freeman and stuff. I watched a few traffic court and maybe some other related trials on YouTube. And it was exactly that. It was absurd the way they're asking a cop. He's like, did you or did you not swear an oath to the Constitution? Yeah, I guess I did. And then next question, have you ever read the Constitution? Objection, sustained. It's irrelevant. Like, what? And anyway, the issue with the Ross case here, during the trial, his family was sitting right behind him, and he wasn't allowed to acknowledge them because the jury wasn't supposed to know that he had a family or something. Like, he couldn't even turn around and smile at them because if he has a family, it changes the jury's image of him.
Forget that this man, this young man has any kind of a family outside. He is just a
criminal.
He's a criminal, and he did it on the internet too, which is even worse.
Yeah.
And 6 people died because they overdosed. It was just terrible. Because we don't run our liquor stores, and we care a lot about all the people.
That's another thing. Now, don't get me wrong.
Everybody who was involved in this decision.
I want to say this. Don't get me wrong. Overdoses are terrible things. But I remember one of the parents said, like, I am firmly... Okay, I should clarify more. The story is that in the courtroom, some parents spoke about their children who had overdosed and they got drugs off the Silk Road. And that was supposed to be against Ross because they're like, it's your fault, Ross. You ran the Silk Road and now my kids are dead. And I remember that's basically what one of these parents said. He's like, I firmly believe that if
Yeah,
the
well,
Silk
maybe
Road...
you're the reason they were overdosing.
Exactly. That's exactly right. You're
Or
the
you
one
don't think
who...
your kid could get it from anywhere else?
Exactly. You're the one who raised your kid. You taught him way more than Ross ever did. If you're worried about who put him in a position where this is going to happen to him, it's your fault. You, the
Kid did
parent's
hair,
fault.
yeah.
I mean, I
You're a
need to be
terrible
careful
parent.
because
I
I
hope you
don't
kill yourself too.
I don't know the whole story and I don't want to speculate too much, but that's
I
just
do.
that's just a possibility that you might want to consider. So,
Son took too much heroin because you were too hard on him.
yeah, well,
I mean, how often does that happen?
Or he just got a misdosage. He could have just taken something on accident. Who knows?
I mean,
Maybe the
that's
kid was
totally
really
true,
happy.
but I mean, how many people take drugs because of like messed up families?
I
Oh,
would.
yeah. Yeah, I would.
I mean, I don't want to like stereotype or generalize things, but like, let's be honest.
Right. Oh, yeah. And I agree. And then the other side of that is not only did Ross not hurt them, but he very well could have saved them from a lot of danger and violence by giving them a safer way to do that stuff.
Yeah,
So-
but that does look bad then, because then they can say, well, see, this person wouldn't have done that. My son never would have done anything dangerous, but because he was able to just go online from the comfort of his home and do all these
Well,
things where
yeah.
he had to use Tor, and it's all your fault. It was just out there waiting for him to grab.
Yeah, no,
And-
that's a good point, Tim. I'm glad you stopped me on that because that's a reasonable point to
No,
make.
it's still stupid because
Yeah.
the kid had to find.
But also,
Yeah, I don't think it's that easy.
No,
It's
I
not like
also-
on. It's not like it's on Amazon.
it's on the front page of Google. Ross was putting money into it to have it run. He was optimizing the Google searches.
yeah, SEO for the Silk Road.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and one thing also that they brought up in this video last night, they had on the Silk Road, they had a doctor who would give people advice and help explain to them, how things are
Maybe
going to
you
work.
shouldn't take ecstasy for 5 days in a row.
Yeah, and I mean that doesn't make things perfect. It didn't save these kids' lives, but Ross was not there with the intent of hurting people. I know intentions are irrelevant, but the point is, it wasn't just this nasty opium den. It wasn't just this disgusting kill people and take their drugs and stuff. It was a decent place. People.
How would that work online? Just kill people and take their drugs?
Well, exactly,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, that's the point.
Tim, send marijuanas through the internet. I send you 10 marijuanas through the internet.
Yeah. I got my marijuana email.
Would you like to equip your marijuanas?
I would like to equip my marijuanas. I will smoke all the marijuanas!
But anyway, I just like the doctor thing, and I like that, they were trying to keep it safe, and in a lot of cases, I'm sure that succeeded.
Well, even if they
so-
weren't trying to keep it safe.
Well,
this
yeah.
should, I mean, people make the argument about guns all the time, so you can't really expect them to be rational really any amount of time, it seems like. But people always, well, like, you provided this for them. Like, okay, there's plenty of dangerous things that people provide for, but
How
I
about
don't know.
cars?
cars.
Yeah, cars.
No, cars
How
are
many
completely safe, driving 2 feet away from another combustible.
Yeah. Oh, I think
Piece of
about that
metal.
all the time, and that's a very true statement. And
Oh, no one should be allowed to drive.
yeah, if
It's incredibly how little attention I put into driving.
oh yeah,
With how easily I could die.
yeah, that's a really important point. Now, I guess the argument
No,
is
it's not.
no. I think it is important because
That I don't drive.
no, important to realize that driving is a whole lot more dangerous than
Then what?
whatever drugs and stuff.
No, I'd say heroin's probably not. Well, depends on how much heroin you.
Yeah,
Don't do
I don't know if
heroin
I
and
would say
drive
more
either.
dangerous. It's just people's perspective is skewed.
Yeah.
It's more dangerous than people think it is.
Well, and I said whatever drugs, meaning some. Yeah, obviously there's a scale, but a lot of them are safer than driving. So
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I guess one argument that people would make is just that, well, everybody drives, and that's why you hear about deaths all the time with driving.
Well,
but only
everybody
a few
drinks
people.
alcohol.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's fine. It's so.
Well, no, I didn't just mean that everybody drives, therefore it's safe. I meant everybody drives, That's why you think that driving's dangerous, because you hear about car crashes all the time.
I mean, that's
and
what I was saying, too.
And that's why people would argue, well, you're saying that drugs are safer, but that's just because they're illegal, and so people don't die from them as often.
Yeah, okay, because less people do
And
them.
I guess the way you solve that is just going to percentages, you know. What percentage of drivers get hurt? What percentage of drug users get hurt? And I don't know what those are, but that would be an interesting thing to look at.
So, are you hopeful for the appeals, Daniel?
Well, of course I'm hopeful. I mean, yeah, I guess I was asking you, Tim, if you would sign the petition for Obama to pardon him, because I come to Tim to confirm all of my decisions.
Every single one of his decisions.
Yeah, and I couldn't decide if that... Well, no, I did decide. I decided, yeah, I guess that makes sense. I mean, it can't hurt anything to just say, I think you should pardon him.
Well, I think my answer was, yeah, why?
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, like, why is it going to help? I don't think
well,
Obama's
right,
going to be
but
like,
then...
I should release this young man. He's done a great service for all of you. I understand now. Obama gets paid by people just like you. And
you never know, Tim. He can't be reelected, so it doesn't really matter what he does.
Oh, he's going to do some great thing. He's going to pardon a turkey again.
No, but Tim, you don't really have to make the decision, or at least I don't have to make the decision, because I'm a frickin' cheapskate, and I found out that it costs $5 to sign the petition. So
I will not be helping that man.
Ross Ulbricht, he's not
Sorry,
worth $5.
Ross.
Daniel's also like, yeah, I'm not giving a WikiLeaks either. You guys can do whatever.
Well, no,
you're not going to get enough money anyway.
Ross is definitely worth $5, but I'm not giving that money to change.org. I'm giving it to Ross.
Okay.
Anyway, well, I guess before we close, I'll just remind people that you can donate if you're interested. We could have a whole discussion again about, well, is this a good idea to donate or not? But if you want to help, it's freeross.org or .com. I guess they both work. So check that out. And I don't know. What do we tell people?
As far as what? Like if they get charged with running an online website and making all that? I'd say at the beginning, just say I did it and just try to get a plea deal. Be a coward, probably. That'll do you better than getting life.
I literally think we just created a new segment of the show. At the very end, the last thing we're going to do is give people some crazy advice based on the show. And today's advice of the day is, or advice of the week, I guess, is if you're ever the kingpin in an international, the biggest drug market in history, take the plea deal.
I would first say don't get caught.
Yeah, I mean, that too.
And then if you do get caught, escape.
Yeah, that would be my advice.
Yeah, Ross,
escape.
It's Ross.
Obviously,
it's
why didn't you think of that, Ross?
Didn't even try. That would have been better. Like this entire story's been pretty much out of a heist movie, or not a heist movie, but with like road DA agents. It'd be way better if he escaped, or if he.
I know.
If he like killed like his
You're
guard.
right.
If it had been like from the Silence of the Lambs, where like he kills the guard and like disguises himself with his face, like he cuts off the face. It'd be a little bit gory though, I think.
Anyway, we'll let everybody go. Remind me next week, guys, to do the advice of the week.
Oh, man.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next Thursday. Check out youmeandbtc.com. Thanks for listening to episode 75. All of the music in today's show was from Jon Stewart. Remember to check out this week's show notes at youmeandbtc.com. We'll see you next Thursday.